Hey guys, welcome to the session on Coffee with Prab. And today we have a special guest, Mr. J. Mr. J basically having a 10 plus year of experience in data privacy and also working as an instructor with InfoSec Train and he delivering a great projects on CIPP and all that. And we can see the tremendous results. And the best thing about Mr. J is that the way he deliver the sessions in the trainings and all that, he discuss a practical use case of all the data privacy practices, programs, and all that, which actually impressed me a lot because I was also reviewing some of his videos, which helped me to understand one of some of the topics area which I was facing. So I thought, let me disturb him in and invite him in this particular channel. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for coming out, taking out the time from your schedule. And I know it's a bit hectic project and hectic time. And so thanks for taking out the time for this project and for this session.
Thank you so much, Prep, for having me in the session. It's always pleasure to interact with the great people in this particular domain, and looking forward to have a great discussion with you.
When I say definition of a great people is you, because you are, see, there's a two type of people who work in this industry. One is basically they speak more and do less, and there's another person or personality we have which do more and speak less. And you are that kind of person who passively do your works and all that, and that result we can see in the client certifications and the outcome of the batch, because we have a two type of trainings which is happening in this industry. One is called slide based training, 16-18 hours and training, and on the other side you itself taking 32 hours of training on CIPP, or 30 hours of training where without slides, where you're using practical use case and all that. One thing about a best thing about you is that the way you drive the training, which is like taking the every candidate on the same stage and drive the things. Sometimes you fight also. Why don't you understand? Let's this is how we need to relate. Let's push hard and all that. So that is the best quality about you, buddy.
Thank you so much for the kind words, Prep. So yeah,
I
it's
really
it
mean it.
all. Yeah. Thank you so much. It all about the passion in terms of helping someone. Basically, I had this sort of help when I groomed in terms of data privacy consultant. So there was people who was helping me to get into that mode. So I'm just doing the favor of passing it on. So the idea of training is always not just to teach, but create fellow mentors who was gonna coach some people more. So that's the intent. Yeah.
That is a great point. So my first question, Jay, is that a myth about data privacy career. So
Yeah.
some people have this myth: data privacy is data cybersecurity, data privacy by lawyers. There is a European law. We have to learn, become privacy expert.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you see yourself in this kind of a myth, and how you want to answer this question?
That's a very common question I almost get from most of the candidates who are aspiring data privacy career, right? So that the myth is because of certain confusion in terms of where is data privacy oriented, is data privacy and cybersecurity or information security or all the same concept. So maybe I'll take one step backward just to explain what is data privacy. So data privacy is all about right to a person,
Hmm,
right to be left alone in
hmm,
terms of not to be disturbed,
hmm,
and right to process his personal data with his permissions, right?
hmm,
So this all started from the human rights.
hmm,
Okay, way back in 1950s, we had United Nations coming up with the particular right of
hmm,
this right to freedom of expression,
hmm.
and respected by organization, and how do we value their rights in terms of a company's business profile, right?
Okay,
So this has a lot of dependence in information security and cyber security, but it's altogether a completely different domain, right?
okay.
And cyber security and information security are sort of a foundation important pillars for facilitating data privacy, but it has a lot to different, because the very important question of why we are collecting a data is never covered by information security
Hmm,
or cybersecurity for that matter,
hmm, hmm,
right? So that's something which is very important and fundamental for any aspirants to understand. And we have so many laws around us in terms of European data protection law. We have a Indian DPDP bill which is going to
yeah,
come.
yeah.
So yeah, which is expected to be table this monsoon season, right?
Hmm,
So every law at the crux are going to be the same in terms of how do you respect a data subject,
hmm,
how do you empower him to have control over his data,
hmm,
and how do you actually protect the data and ensure it's getting protected by the organization, right? So this is the fundamental in terms of I try to give a clarity to any aspirant that uh, if you can work in any law
Hmm.
if you get a good understanding in one law, and if it is GDPR, that's great because that's the gold standard in market. And
Hmm.
if you have one thorough understanding of a law, and it helps you to scale up with any data privacy law around the
Hmm.
world.
Hmm. Is it
Yeah.
possible? Can you just give a 5 minutes example on that? When you say, okay, be expert in one law and then you can scale up. So, because this video might be review and watching by those people who might be have a zero experience in data privacy and cybersecurity, and they want to explore some areas on this area. So, I'm just wondering, when I say understanding of one regulation is enough, and based on that you can scale up. So, any use case you have?
Yes, perfect. So, for example, if you're working in any multinational company around the world, right,
Hmm.
it's quite possible for the company to have business across the globe, right?
Hmm.
So, this is the approach I used to implement for many organizations. Is that so? We generally look into the commonalities of all the regulation. If you
Hmm.
see, 70 to 80% of the compliance requirement by
Hmm.
any regulation are going to be the same,
Hmm.
right? So, what we do is if you understand those commonalities, it's going to be your data subject rights
Sure.
management, data breach management, and in terms of how do you fulfill the security of processing.
Hmm.
And if you see the commonalities, it's going to be almost the same, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the principles, yes, principles may be varying a bit. There could be one or two unique principles with a specific regulation. Data subject rights also could be a little different. Your lawful basis obviously will change with law of the land. It could be
Hmm.
little different with
Hmm.
the west versus the with the east. But as I said, the commonalities around 70 to 80% remains the same. And
Okay.
with that, if you focus only on the specific outliers for
Hmm.
different regulation, right?
Hmm.
And that gives us a sort of a common framework in terms of how do we operate to multiple regulations. That's the same approach I would say. If you understand one regulation in detail, like the GDPR,
Hmm.
and it's not just reading an article and say, okay, this is the definition of personal data and that is it, but each and every word of the definition of personal data has a lot of influence, right? So when I say if you understand one regulation in detail, you really need to know the inference of each and every word which has been mentioned in the law, and how do you apply it to the business, what are the
Okay.
different use cases that can arise, right? And that is something which will help you to actually scale up for any particular regulation, a
Hmm.
bit of focused effort in terms of that particular regulation.
That is a good point. So, as a beginner, if someone want to make a career in data privacy and all that, so it mean he need to have a or she need to have a good understanding, or they can start with a career in data privacy with GDPR and all that. So, what is your recommendation for the people who wish to make a career in data privacy, and what you see in next 5 year as a career opportunity in data privacy?
Thanks for the question, Brab. It's one of the very common question which many people wants to get answer. And so if to start to have a career in data privacy, I would say you should first start with a curiosity.
Hmm.
So you should have a curiosity in terms of understanding what a regulation means,
Hmm.
right? So that curiosity of understanding how this particular clause of a
Hmm.
regulation will have impact on me as a data subject and an impact on a business and a company, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if this curiosity is there, if you're able to decipher those requirements and it
Hmm.
interests you, that's the foundation first step. And then definitely this domain is for you. And there is a big myth that it's a boring topic, it's for the legal people. And that's a myth that used to exist during the pre-GDPR era, or almost close to the 2018 to 20. But that has changed a lot.
Hmm.
Today, if you see, there are so many risk professionals
Hmm.
as well as even the technical guys who are jumping into the data privacy domain, because there is so many opportunities in terms of this. And if someone is starting this career, just be open in terms of what you need to pursue. There are different opportunities in data privacy domain. I can give you examples. For example, if you want to start from the process side, you can have ample amount of opportunities in defining the data privacy program process. There
Hmm.
are multiple process that a company has to implement. to fulfill the compliance requirement,
Hmm.
as well as if you see the legal side, legal team always have a lot of opportunity when it comes to regulation, like how do you manage the contracts, how do you
Hmm.
manage the international data transfers, how do you handle litigation regarding your data subject rights.
Hmm.
So there is even if there is a amendment of any laws or regulations around the world,
Hmm.
those inferences usually come from the legal team. Now coming
Okay.
to the technology part of it, right? So this was again, a lot of people didn't had a purview, but technology people find a lot of amazing roles within the data privacy domain, right? So if you see, automation is becoming a big requirement in data privacy, because
Hmm.
uh, gone are the days where people used to maintain your records of processing activity
True.
in Excel sheets. Privacy automation tools have really kicked in the
Hmm.
market, and there
Hmm.
are so many vendors who are making such great progress in this particular domain, as well as privacy enhancing technologies is again another big area. There is a lot of scope for the technology people as well. So for any candidates who wants to pursue data privacy, the first is a curiosity, and second, try to keep yourself open and pursue what interests you, right?
Okay.
And if you are basically from a process side, explore different options. How do you manage the data privacy program in an organization? Or if you want to pursue the legal side, you have ample opportunities. And third, technology also. How do you maintain your tools and softwares, and how do you actually automate within your existing infrastructure?
Excellent. So, as you said, in cybersecurity, in information security, we have a profiles like pen testers, compliance specialist, security auditors, bug bounty experts, and all that. So, when it comes to data privacy, because this is the question, is my question also. So, when it comes to data privacy and all that, what are the profiles we have in data privacy? Now, example like when I say in information security, the person start with SOC expert, then he become a SOC lead or pen tester, pen test lead, security consultant, then assistant manager, the manager. So in data privacy, what kind of a because what I heard about every data privacy consultant. Okay, so we have engineers, we have a consultant, we have a specialist. So can you just share your view on this part? Like what are the roles, responsibilities we have, different roles? And second is if someone want to start a career in data privacy, what is the ideal role for him to start?
The confusion here is because mainly we see data privacy consultant tag is used by people with 0 to 2 years of experience, and also people with 10 to 15 years of experience,
Yeah.
right? So that is because mainly right now organizations are having a model of a single person firefighting the entire data privacy program,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm,
And that's going to change in big time. The reason
mm,
is when the compliance becomes more tighter, and
mm.
then you have to give equal importance to different segments of your compliance, right?
Example,
Similarly, when
example like.
for example, your data subject rights
Mm.
alone can become a separate domain for people to handle. For
Oh,
example,
okay.
if you have hundreds to thousand queries, if you're handling a medium or large size company, it
Mm,
is impossible for a single person or a couple of people to manage this entire data subject rights.
mm,
So you need process, you need to look at the personal data that is getting flowed into the organization. You need to collect a response. You need to appropriately respond within the stipulated time. So
mm.
this all process will need a larger team, right?
Okay.
And the same goes in terms of how do you conduct data processing assessments, right?
Mm,
So we can call it as DPIA or PIA. So
mm.
this will also require a larger effort, right? Gone are the days like one person is going to do it for a week or a month or maybe 6 months, but there might be timelines coming with each of this. So there will again be a wider team involved in this. For let's start with sort of a organization structure I would give. Generally, people who are entering into organization may start with an analyst role, right? Data privacy analyst, right? And soon, if you are stewarding in terms of a process, you might become an associate consultant or a consultant or a senior consultant. And same goes in terms of a technical profile, or legal have their own hierarchy in terms of similar legal growth cycle.
True.
The important tipping point that comes into this ladder is that once you gain considerable 5 to 6 or 7 years of experience,
Mm,
you reach a role of a data privacy manager.
mm.
Okay, so once you reach a data privacy manager, and that's when you are sort of capable in terms of doing a data privacy program from scratch. right?
Okay.
So I do see many people with 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience jumping into the data protection officer role or
Hmm.
data privacy officer role. So that tag is a bit of quite double-edged sword. Okay,
Okay.
in European scenario, that's a legally position role, which means the role has a lot of legal weightage as well.
Hmm.
So we are awaiting the exact role in the Indian scenario, but that role has a lot of significance. It's a C-suite position,
Hmm.
and that directly reports to the board of directors, right?
Okay.
So as I said, data privacy manager, and then finally a data protection officer or your data governance head also could be closely aligned with the data protection officer as well.
Okay. So, if I say in a high level summary, it start with the consulting, then manager, then lead, or sorry, kind of a senior privacy officer, or then chief privacy head, right?
Yeah, correct.
So,
Chief
how do you
privacy
see
officer. Yeah.
chief privacy officer? So, how do you see a CISO in this case? Will he report to the CPO in future? What do you say? Because in governance area, I've seen CISO is also reporting to the legal head and all that because of compliance regulatory requirement.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
privacy is not only about security. Privacy is not be a
Yeah.
cheaper price. So my question is that what do you think? Like, will the CISO will report to CPO in future jobs?
It's considered as a conflict of interest. Okay.
Okay.
For any data protection officer
Hmm.
to have any other role in
Hmm.
the company is going to be considered as a conflict of interest. The reason is
Same like
the
internal
data
auditor.
protection.
Same like an
Yeah,
internal audit head.
yeah, sort of
Why?
thing. But I'll
Why?
give you the rationale for this.
Hmm.
The data protection officer should not have any say in any of the processing activity that happens within the company. Okay,
Okay.
and that is a sort of a guideline which is given by the GDPR, which makes it like a data protection officer cannot report to your CIO or your CISO, but rather report to the board of director or to the CEO. The only reason is he should be away from decision making on your routine processing activity that could have influencing effect, as well as
Okay.
he that role demands you to be away from all the uh, normal processing activity that happens within the business.
Okay.
That is a requirement. Yeah, but this is strictly from the European data protection purview.
Hmm.
Currently in India, there is no mandate as such, and how do we follow it? So
Hmm.
we are awaiting information and guidelines. So usually GDPR came in 2016,
Yeah.
implemented in 18. There were a lot of supporting guidelines, supporting documents coming from the your data protection authorities. Similarly, the Indian market will also be fine-tuned in terms of these conflict of interest and designation and what are the roles and responsibility. That's an interesting area.
That's a very good point that you have shared, and this was an interesting insight about the roles and reporting metrics because I haven't seen any video which talk about this parameter and all that. So my last question, I don't want to I don't want to stress more, but it look more interesting, so it basically make me more think to ask this question. If I say pen tester, if I talk about security analyst, we have a specific skill to become a pen tester and all that. So if someone want to make a career in data privacy, what is the skill is required for him for data privacy? I know you already answered this question about he must be passionate and all that, but it doesn't matter. So someone, if he's not passionate about something but he's really want to make a career, so
Yeah,
what can be the ideal framework? Because one is passion, one is the prerequisite, right? Even I am
yeah.
passionate about becoming a doctor, but I cannot become a doctor, right? So what is the ideal framework we required to make a career in data privacy? What knowledge is required? How to start if someone want to make a career? Can the 60-year-old
Yes.
person can do? Can the 20-year-old person can do? Can the postgraduate student or graduate student can do and make a career? So what can be the ideal framework who want to make a career in
Great.
data privacy? Yeah.
Sure, bro. So, like the different set of people you mentioned, even from different background,
Hmm.
yes, obviously you have options for all the people to jump into this particular domain
Hmm.
because they come from different background, and that
Hmm.
adds to the value of this particular domain. Let me give you a sort of a stepwise approach, right?
Hmm.
So I'll give my own example in terms of how I started my career, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I started my career with information security.
Hmm.
Okay, and then I got an opportunity to explore data privacy in my previous organization, and then as I said, it was very interesting for me. I just to give a story, if you allow me, this all started with this particular point in my head. Like I used to, whenever I used to board Indian Railways, I used to see a chart outside the Indian Railways which clearly mentioned who is boarding in this particular
Exactly.
and you would have seen
Age
all
also.
your age, not only age. I used to see the PAN card number. Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
so back then it was like completely visible in terms of a PAN card number, your Aadhaar number, and everything was completely, driving license, everything was completely visible, right? So it actually triggered me. What if someone can misuse this? And it so happened that very next year I saw there were companies or people, fraudulent people, started making use of those publicly available data and
Uh,
started making purchases and giving those PAN card, right? And that question in my head got stuck in terms of why there is no one actually caring about such sensitive information, why it's so easily available to everyone, why is no one caring about it, right? And then it triggered me in terms of that problem statement all of us would have faced, is that getting those anonymous calls and saying that, sir, do you want a loan, do you want this, do you want that? And that always has a special place in me. And that I wanted to stop this menace. Like, how do I stop it? How do I stop such unsolicited calls, unsolicited messages, right? So that is when this curiosity jumped into what do I need to learn, and what do I need to actually pursue to make myself stronger? Because it all starts with your self awareness, right?
mm,
If I am aware about the loss, then only I can utilize it to help myself, right? So that self-awareness is a second important pillar for anyone who wants to start from a pen tester background or anything. First, explore what is there in any law.
okay.
Let's take GDPR. There,
Mm,
it has around 1 to 99 articles, right? But
mm,
if a
mm,
core crux of any GDPR is about 4 5 important topics, right?
mm, mm,
It starts with what are the simple definitions: personal data, sensitive personal data, controller, processors, right? And then principles, lawful basis,
mm,
data subject rights,
mm,
and data transfers. If you understand these basic terms, don't jump in terms of uh, 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 taking up anything without first trying to explore these
mm,
keywords.
mm,
Okay, if you are able to find the definitions, is you are able to understand it, and if you're able to think through these terms and you're
mm,
able to sort of connect the dots, that now gives you a sort of a baseline. And
okay.
from then on, you look at two different options.
Mm,
One, a person like me who is taking these training programs have obviously spent a lot of time to
mm,
sum up this article and as well as these requirements in a
mm,
simple way that you are able to easily grasp it and also apply to your business requirement.
mm,
Otherwise, I we don't usually tell everyone needs a training or a coaching, right?
true.
If you want to put your best efforts, yes, obviously GDPR and everything is available in the public. But why candidates come to our center is that because it's a legal term, right? And
Mm,
there is a requirement for someone to make this simple for someone to understand it, right? And how do we actually use it in a business premise?
mm,
So if you get through this foundation in terms of going for a certification course, right? We have three different certifications with IAPP, and if you get at least one of them, you definitely have hit the first significant milestone as a second step, apart from your curiosity or and sort of doing a background research on this. And second is getting a certification. And certification doesn't make you as a master in that particular domain, because obviously you need to practice it, right? The same goes to any information security certification as well, right?
true. True.
So getting a certification is part of the job, because you learn the concepts, you are demonstrated the same in the exam, and that makes you as a qualified person to start practicing or digging up roles related to data privacy. But what matters now is, if you're working in an organization, try
Mm,
to help the organization with similar roles,
okay.
right? For example, if there is a data privacy function within the organization, try to offer a sort of a free hand, right?
Mm,
This makes you try to get a job experience without quitting your job or coming to open market, but rather you're getting a in-house experience, trying to give your extra time towards a data privacy function. Or
That's
if
true.
you're working in a small organization, maybe
Mm,
you can go and discuss with the top management saying that, boss, I have done this course. I'm actually interested to set up this sort of privacy function within the organization. I can
mm,
help you with this. So this is the second important, third important step. I would say that uh, try to take up this privacy roles and responsibility within your existing function or existing organization.
mm,
And if you get that opportunity, that's the great way in terms of trying to enter into this privacy domain. And finally, if you are an experienced person who wants to switch your career from risk, or if you want to switch from any other domains within your organization, obviously you are experienced in one particular stream, and now what you need to do is similarly master the certification, and then try to find any small organizations out in the market. Try to enter into a role where you can get some hands-on experience
mm.
for 6 months, maybe do an internship, or try to get a sort of experience to demonstrate, and then you can directly use that experience to showcase that you have that relevant experience along with the certification. So getting a certification is one important step, but at the same time, you need to apply that in your organization or use them for your compliance requirement. So that's
That
a very important key.
that is something is basically the last point what you said about the passion and integrations about process and all that is a